Okay, now let's talk about integrating and working with Megascan assets. Because in a lot of cases you cannot use Megascan as it is, you need to rework it, and there are a lot of advices and important moments which I can mention to you. So first of all, I would recommend do download EXR and not GPX file, because GPX will have nasty compressions which you don't want. So when you are downloading your mesh. For example, I decided to take this one because of specific reasons. So I will download it as a 8K. You do not really need 8K, but let's imagine you're planning to use it as a 4K in game. I would recommend download 8K. If you're planning to use it in game as 2K, 4K more than enough. We're downloading all LODs. If you do not know, you also can download high poly source and source Z2. It can be important when you're working with rocks and want to work with them. And you see here in texture settings, we need EXR, not JPEGs, because JPEGs will have some compressions which are completely not what we want. So, and now we're in Substance Painter. I will go to New and I'm selecting this model. I haven't modified it, nothing at all. And I'm clicking OK. We are using our preset, which we already created. And we have our models. And there are a couple of important moments which you need to know. I will drag and drop albedo, normal, and roughness. So, and there are some issues which you need to solve. So I'm downloading them and importing them. And the problem is that in Quixel, you're downloading normals in OpenGL format. And this can be pretty big issue. So when we have here, usually I'm creating fill layer and drag and drop here materials. And you see when you download the XR, they're looking a little bit strange. You see they're looking like that. And where drag and drop here. And the first issue already that our normals are not correct. But how we can understand that they are not correct? Because you're looking like they look fine. But this is classical issue with OpenGL DirectX format, you see, and it's fixable. So if you go here, you open color space, you can open color space for your normal, and you see it's after DirectX normal, and it's not DirectX because it's downloaded Megascan and they have OpenGL. And you see now it's look correct. And this is very big issue, which I see so many times. And yeah, we're fixing this one. Also, another thing which I'm doing, also let's check our lighting. Correct. Let's use aces. Let's go to Bacon, texture set settings. And when I'm working with my Megascans, this is the reason why I'm not drag and drop normal here. Because if I will drop normal map here, it will not understand it in right format. And I do not see any control of color space here. So sometimes I'm going, so maybe you know how you can, because in old versions of Painter, I think if I remember correctly, it was possible to change color space, but in one moment they change it. So you also have this resource updater, and here I cannot select and say that it's like OpenGL format. So sometimes I'm changing it manually. So I'm downloading the file, I'm going to green channel and flipping green channel. And in this case, I have proper texture and moving them to normal map. And this can be pretty critical sometimes, but sometimes it's less critical. Usually if I'm working or reworking Megascans, I'm still baking by using use low polymesh as high polymesh. It's nice trick which give you some curvature and it will help during texturing. So we do not we can even bake ambient occlusion. It can be useful because this is like LOD 0, so it's pretty high res. So we can bake ambient occlusion from low poly, curvature, position, thickness. Yeah, I think everything here is fine except ID. ID we do not need. Uh, Anti-aliasing, let's ignore it. In diffusion, let's use it. So you see we're baking, this is nice trick in some cases, not every time. When you are using yellow poly to bake some maps, usually you need something like ambient occlusion, curvature, and thickness. You see, they're not great. They're not great, and if you need something more precise, you need to use a source to bake. So in this case, you're baking mesh, adding a source, which you downloaded. You can do this. But in our case, it can be more than enough just to bake at least like that. And now it's becoming fun part. So this is looking like an okay texture. But usually, first thing which I'm doing, I'm using PBR check, PBR validator. Here it is. And you see, we already see that we have some issues here. If we'll have more stronger, we have even more issues. So you see, this texture is not completely correct, PBR values. And I don't know why with Megascans overall, I need to pop up their values pretty high in a lot of cases. This is first issue. Another issue is that it's do not come with proper metallic map. This is coming from scanning procedural because you cannot scan metallic surface properly. So sometimes you need to do your metallic test manually. So let's go to project texture. It's called VGF. And you see, if we'll move select ID map here, and let's go to ID. You see, it's not in proper color space. That's what I mentioned before. And as I said, I do not know how to fix it. I'm not sure it's fixable. If fixable, I will add some kind of comment here. So that's why this is a moment when ID map can be useful from GPAC. So we can use GPAC here, or you can ignore ID map and do it somehow differently. For example, with anchor points. We can go with anchor points because I think it's make no sense to add additional texture just to fix this. So let's go here and let's create anchor point. Also, somehow you see it's losing. So let's anchor point here, like base layers. So and we want to make this as a metallic in some cases, and sometimes you want to work with these materials overall. So one thing which I'm doing pretty often, it's working with levels with the roughness. In this asset, I think it's fine, but a lot of Megascan assets are pretty close in roughness values, and I would recommend to do something like that. It should not be done every time. It just can help you to create a little bit more interesting roughness variation because you're not using a lot in basic roughness. I'm just pushing it a bit, and this can be nice. Then, as I was mentioned before, we need to create metallic and sometimes fix some values. So obviously, in this case, this part should be metal. Like it's very visible that it's metal. This one, it's like rusted iron, so it's can be non-metal sometimes. So you see, it's coming to you to decide what is metal, what not with Megascans. So you cannot use as it is. So let's do fill layer here. And first, let's fix metallic surfaces. So I'm going to metallic and making it 1. And you can use or fill, or in our case, we'll be using mask from our base layers. So we're using base layer, and I think base color can be the best idea. Sometimes not. Let's see. And I'm doing something like, so you see, working with and invert it like that. So you see, we're not doing it completely metallic. So for example, some very visible dust will not be metallic, but a lot of things we fixed. And now we will do And in this case, I prefer, again, I'm using this as a multiply. And now we have this surface as a metal one. And yes, maybe it's not looking as great as you want, because one of the issues, we do not want to have color, we want a metallic. But the issue now that, yes, we fixed metallic values for this part, but it's completely non-PBR, because when you're working with metallic surfaces, especially in Unreal, they also need to be lighter. So we'll have our color, and this is up to you how you want to fix it. You can use levels. I will use base color in screen mode, because you see, in this case, we can control it better. So let's go to base color value. And now let's do something like that. Yes, it can look even a little bit strange for you, but this is the pretty correct way how to do it. And now it's up to you which other values you want to fix. So let's have this one, this one. Okay, so you see, it's in one moment it can be pretty tricky and not very fun. But it's very important to do this kind of fix, because otherwise Megascans are not completely correct. I hope Megascans team will not be very sad saying me this. I understand why it's happening this way, but if you want to have proper shading, you need to update some things. Of course, we are going to discussion like what is metallic, non-metallic surface, but in my opinion, if you will have some touch on top, it will be better, because Megascans, it's like it's a source. It's not mean that everything is perfect. It's already a bit free, so no complaints. Okay, so I fixed it this way, and you see now if we have PBR validator, even these, you see, like this is the trickiest thing about metallic surfaces. Even now, it's not bright enough, so base color is correct, metallic overall correct, roughness correct. So why PBR values are not happy? It's still, yeah, you see, so only in these values PBR values becoming correct enough. And you see, like, but it's looking so bright. When you're working with metallic, especially in Unreal later, it should be super bright. And it's not, if you go to base color, it's not as bright as you think, because yeah, it's not, but you can say, but we lost so many details. Yes, and you're correct. If you do not want to lose so many details, in my opinion, the best way will be using something like levels. So because we have our color, we can use our anchor point base color, and you can use something like HSL or levels. I will prefer using HSL filter, HSL. And now we can, so you see in this case we are not losing so many, we're just making it more bright. Let's use our PBR validator, and let's go a little bit down. And something like that, close enough. You see, so now we haven't lost, because we want to have metal. Metal. Yes, so now with PBR check, let's go up, 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 up. This is becoming more correct. At least something like that. And you see, like, this is how it should be like. And I understand it can be very strange for you, like, why it's so bright, but believe me, when you will have this in Unreal, if it will be too dark, it will be too dark. Or you're fine that you are not going with completely PBR values, and this is something for discuss. Also, what you can do, here you can control your levels a little bit like more precise. Maybe something like that, because when it's becoming dirty, it's not metal, you need to remember. So you see, when I done it this way, a little bit more carefully, it's looking much better. And this is what you need to do with your metallic pass when you're working. So, and then is question like, do you want to work with this one? Because it should be almost the same one. If you decide to, if you're deciding that this is metallic surface, you need to do this kind of pass. Or you are saying that this is like so dirty, so oxidized metal that it's already non-metallic surface. But it's still the case that you need to fix your PBR values. Because if we go here, you'll see we have a lot of pretty non-PBR values. And this is a moment when something like color correction can be very nice. So you drag and drop, not here, color correction here. And in shadows, we can pop up. So you see in shadows, this part becoming lighter. And now you see from PBR perspective, they're much more correct. We do not have these very dark values. And you see, if you'll check, this is changing your midtones. Also can be very, if you want to have a little bit like more contrast in your texture, you can also work with this one. Yeah, highlights almost not working in this case. So this is, and you see, this is interesting. Like, let's take a look what was with our asset before. So it was like that, and it was pretty dark, you see, but lighting is fine. But now I'm fixing like values, and with our lighting, asset looking much better. So we fix base color, roughness, and then you can do additional pass on top. So next step, it's completely up to you. You can do retexturing, and you can use our mask as a like this color balance for retexturing or changing the color. You can rework something. It's a lot of things what you can do with Megascans after that. So I will show you also another trick. I'm using this much rare, but still. So I'm drag and drop here JPEG, white JPEG of the albedo, because we can use it as an ID mask. I just want to show you, as I said, because of the color space, you cannot use EXR, but JPEG I do not like because it's compressed, which less correct way to work. But you can still work this way. So we'll take our albedo and make it in ID mask. And now let's imagine we want to add, I don't know, like red or something. So let's add fill color, and we'll be using color selection. And now you can, for example, if you want to have a little bit more rust in your rust, you see, you can select it, and you have your rust as a mask. And let's imagine you want to use this asset without rust. Is it possible? Yes, of course it's possible. So in this case, you can select it. So roughness lower, metallic higher. Base color, I think this for basic color is fine. And here you can change some tolerance and hardness a little bit lower. And of course, we do not want to change anything for bottom part. So, and I think it's better to do it with objects. Oh, it's one object, so no. We'll be removing UV shells. So now you see you have mask on top of your metal. And let's download scan from Quixel surface of metal, just to like follow the same logic. In this case, I will just use JPEGs. But even when I'm working with surfaces, I prefer not to work with. And same problems and same issues, like albedo here, metallic here, normal here. And normal, you need to remember, it's not OpenGL. It's not air direct, sorry, it's OpenGL. It's important. And roughness, and you see, that's what I was mentioning before about roughness before. If we'll go to roughness of this material, you see it's not very contrasty. And every time, almost all the time, when I'm working with roughness, I prefer to push it. I'm working this way, so it's almost like a contrast. You see, I'm trying to have the same values, but making it
just to be more interesting. So, and we're using this cast, not, you can say, but we haven't changed too much. Yes, I'm agree. But in any case, I think it's important. And that's what we had before, that's what we have now. And it's based on this mask. So it's not looking perfect. So let's try to improve it. So for example, we can decide that we want to do the same stuff with all upper part. Let's say all upper part is metal, right? And let's move this part here. And let's try to see what we have now. Okay, I think it's going in the right direction. So you see, now we have this. So we have a non-metallic surface here, and then we have completely metallic surface here, but it's still looking a little bit off, right? Because like working with metal can be tricky, and this is the moment where you need to do additional pass on top. This is the reason why I decided to go with this Megascan asset, because if you want to achieve receive proper look with the metallic surface, it's not as easy as you think from the start. So we can at least do a dirt pass. I will use procedural. We will talk later that I'm not huge fan of using just procedural dirt, but in our case it's fine because I want to ground our asset a bit more, because right now it's a little bit too off. You see, already big improvement. Also, next you can try to work with this mask. I think this mask is fine. Maybe this one a little bit too hard, so maybe softness a bit. Nice. I think, yeah, this is kind of looking much better. And if you want to have any kind of beziering, because like this is looking like super new still, because we have been using a pretty clean scan, right? So we can decide to use something else. So let's save this as an anchor point, clean metal, and let's use material iron, because I think if we will use something like it's aluminium, which not great. I'm thinking what we can do. Let me try. And we do not want to use, yeah, height. You see, adding too much, so we'll go to height 1. And let's see, before after, not really too much changed, I think. So let's add additional branch map on top. So I'm like doing proper metal mix. Yeah, I think, again, not big change, but it's creating variety. And you see, now it's looking like that. And this is like, as I was saying, like, in some cases, you want to have your metal as non-metal. But if you want to work with this as a metal, you need to, yeah, maybe I'm thinking how we can improve it more. And I think if we'll have our dirt level a little bit higher, I think something like that. Yes, that's what we want. and maybe even take this dirt and make ID mask, clean metal, add filter, blur, because when you have this kind of dirt, it can be not looking too good when in hard transition. Yeah, and you can add rust, for example. So we not just like worked on Megascan assets, but also improved it in a way, at least from PBR perspective. Not every time it will mean that it will be better. This is an important moment, but it will be closer to real materials. And yeah, it's completely up to you. You can use in this case non-metallic surface at all, but I think at least some of the moments which I mentioned will be useful for you.